Hello students, how are you? We are going to discuss today electric conductors, dielectrics and polarization. Basically, as far as the chapter is concerned, we are having only dielectrics and polarization, and whenever we are discussing dielectrics, a little in connection with that, conductors also we need to discuss. As far as the exam perspective, from exam perspective it is concerned, it's having less importance. However, this is totally a theoretical aspect. If we take up only important questions, derivations, etc., this may be missed. And the intention of this is to just to make a small video to cover up these points what we may miss otherwise. Now suppose there is a material, okay, if the material is having a large number of free charges on it. Now I use one word, free charges. Let me explain this. Let us say this is our earth tree. Now we are having some trees here, and we are having some human beings, let us say. Now see, these human beings can move about the earth from place to place. Let us say it's moving from point A to point B. Now this tree is standing here, let us say at point O, and throughout its life it has to stand at O only. So the thing is, both these things, both the tree and the human beings cannot escape the gravitational field, because this person, if it jumps, again it will fall back. We call that a projectile motion, right? So whatever it may be, if falls, it will come back to the earth's surface only. It cannot escape the total gravitational field altogether. The human beings also are part of earth only, and the trees also are part of earth only, but remaining on the surface of earth, the human beings can move about, and the same is applicable for any animals, right? But the trees are fixed at one point only. With respect to the ground also, they cannot move, and all of them are part of earth only, they cannot leave earth. So what we can say is, here moving things on the surface who are part of the surface, they will remain with earth only, but they cannot move away from earth, but they can they are free to move along the surface anywhere. Those are called free beings, let us say free moving beings, and these are not free. Exactly similarly, in a material there are some charges. You know, very minutely, microscopically, if you see, there are charges at the center. There is one nucleus, and the electrons are revolving around it. These things we know, right? From earlier classes also, from chemistry also, we know these things. So basically, this electron which is tied to the nucleus, if it cannot move away, we will not call that a free electron. But if there is certain structure where the electrons can move about everywhere, then we will call those the free electrons. Just like the same concept. So when we use the term free charge, that doesn't mean that the charge is free to move away from the material. It will remain on the material only, and the material will remain neutral only as far as the electric charge is concerned. However, it is free to move about the surface. Okay, so these are called free charges. And if free charges are more and more, if a number of free charges are much more, that only comes into the category of conductors, because if we connect them with a battery, let us say, then charges can flow, and the flow of a charge is the rate of flow of a charge only we are calling as electric current. Though the current term is very familiar to you, exactly what is electric current you may not be aware of as of now, or even if you are aware of, there will be some doubts, and we'll be clarifying those things better in another chapter. Current electricity chapter is there separately. But however, now what I can say is, the flow of a charge only is current, and this flow becomes very easy, very conveniently. This flow happens only when the charges on the conductor also flow, right? And if that flow is more, that is a good conductor, like gold, silver, copper, etc. And if that flow is less, that's not a good conductor. And If there is no free charge at all, it's an insulator or a dielectric we call it, right? Now in this chapter what we discuss is the dielectrics also are of two types. The dielectrics are of two types, polar and non-polar. Now, the simple thing to understand the polar thing and non-polar thing are, see, every molecule, any object is constituting of a molecules ultimately, right? And molecules of the structure, if you are having the positive charge and the negative charges are revolving around it, then if we look at the molecule only, the electrons or the negative charges are one side and positive charges, protons, etc. are one side, right? So we have understood that a very small negative charge, if separated by a very small positive charge, that constitutes of one electric dipole, and there is one electric dipole moment which is equal to 2L. If we took the length to be 2L, whatever is the length between that multiplied by any one of the charge. This was a dipole moment we have discussed. Now, please understand that every molecule will act like one dipole, yes or no? Through examples, I'll explain what it means. Now, see, in polar dielectrics, the charge centers don't coincide. And in case of a non-polar dielectrics, charge centers coincide. Now, what do you mean by charge centers coincide or charge centers don't coincide? Let us explain that through an example. Let us say water we are considering, H2O, right? At some angle, they are making some angle between each other, H2O, okay, 19 degree, I guess. Now see, if we find out the charge center of plus charge, this is positively charged, right? And this is negatively charged. So charge center will lie somewhere in between midpoint, and the negative charge center will be somewhere here, right? So there is a positive charge and there is a negative charge separated by a very small distance. So it will act like a small electric dipole, right? So there will be one dipole moment which will be equal to 2L multiplied by the charge, whatever is the charge, and multiplied by the 2L. This distance we are taking as a 2L, right? So I am showing only one molecule, but the water is being constituted of millions of molecules and several molecules. So all the dipole moments in the same direction, let us say, they are getting coincident. Why we are saying same direction? Now remember, if the dielectric is placed inside one electric field, if the dielectric is placed inside one electric field, what will happen? The positive charges will be pushed and negative charges will be pulled. That's why the orientation of all the electric dipoles, you remain that will be rotating automatically. All the positive parts will be this side and negative parts will be this side. Even if it was not in a proper direction, because of this electric field, that will be aligned. All positives will be one side, all negatives will be one side. All positives will be one side, all negatives will be one side. All the dielectric moments will be, all the dipole moments will be in one direction only. They will organize themselves. That happens in polar dielectrics. In non-polar dielectrics, let us take carbon dioxide. They lie in one line only. Now what is this is a little positively charged, this little negatively charged, right? Now the thing is, the positive charge, the midpoint of these two is same as the negative charge also. So the charge center of a positive charge falls on the charge center of a negative charge only. So the charge centers coincide. That means the charge center of positive charge center of a negative charge is at one place only. Wherever in case of a polar dielectric, so there is some dipole moment. That is the reason, if the dielectric is placed inside one electric field, here also the positive negative charge center will be separated a little. Imagine this is CO2 inside one electric field. Then here also positive will be pushed and negative will be pulled. So positive charge and negative charge center, positive charge center and negative charge center will be separated a little. So here also it is separated a little, but in case of the polar dielectrics, it is separated a little more. Okay, so dielectrics are not having free charges, but the polar dielectrics act a little electric dipole moment is there in that. In non-polar, initially it was coinciding. However, if an electric field is applied, a little separation between the charge centers are being created. This induction of the dipole moment through this process is called electric polarization. Is it clear? Now we have understood theoretically what electric polarization is. Now just like every physical quantity, we understand, after understanding the physical quantity, our next step is to measure it. How the polarization is measured? Polarization happened more or less, how we can compare with that? So the unit, we have to find some quantitative measure of electric polarization. The quantitative measure is electric dipole moment induced per unit volume is called electric polarization, and that is numerically equal to the charge density. Numerically equal to, meanings are separate, but numerically the numbers are equal. We will take up one more theoretical concept, which it is relationship between EV, electron volt, and joule. Now let us say that we have already studied that W is equal to V multiplied by Q, where Q is the charge, V is the potential, W is the work done. W is the work done in moving a charge Q through a potential V. Suppose we are having two plates at certain, let us say VA, VB. Two plates are AB are there, VA, VB. Then if we will move charge Q from here to here, what work will be done? That is called the potential difference between the plates. So if AB were given, we can give it a VAB or whatever. But anyway, so in general we can say W is equal to VQ. Now, so we have understood that a potential difference, or to be more accurate, simply potential is nothing but the work done only. So what is the unit of potential? Unit of V. Now we are saying that that should be joule only, because that's the work done only. However, see, W is equal to V potential is equal to work done when a unit positive charge is moved. So if some charge is moved, we will calculate that, by Q we will do. So W is equal to, from this formula you say V is equal to W by Q. So what we will say? Joule per coulomb we will say. And joule per coulomb, when we said, instead of saying always joule per coulomb, we said that to be 1 volt, or let me write volts. In volts we measure it, 1 volt we called it, right? 1 joule per 1 coulomb is 1 volt we said. However, what I want to point out here is, whenever we express in 1 volt also, V when we express in a volt, or work done potential when we express in a joule, that is not a practical unit, because electrically we are always concentrating at a microscopic level, atomic level, molecular level we are considering, where it is much big. So what we do is, the practical unit is EV. It is the short term for electron volt. Now see, this also is the work done only, but work done is equal to VQ. So V multiplied by Q. For Q we are taking 1 electron. 1 electron also is a charge, right? So if we multiply, if we take 1 electron in 1 volt, how much work will be done? Q is 1.6 into 10 to the minus 19. And if 1 electron is moved in a potential difference of 1 volt, what work is done? That is, these many joules of work is done, and that much joules is called 1 EV. Clear? Now this EV is the practical unit. As you will see going further, most of the time in electricity, whenever we will be using this term for energy or work done, most of the time in terms of EV we will be saying, and 1 EV is nothing but 1.6 into 10 to the minus 19 joules. So multiplied by 1 means it's the same only. So 1.6 into 10 to the minus 19 joules. Joule is a concept. Joule is one unit which we are already familiar with. Now we will be using EV only all the times. Whenever these many EVs comes, so we can multiply that with 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 to express it in terms of a joule. Clear?